So here's the plan. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing one Marvel movie every week. I think every Saturday. I think that's what we're aiming for.
Yep.
Probably around this time, 8 o'clock every Saturday night. We're going to go through every Marvel movie in order from when they released, starting with Iron Man 1, which came out in 2008. Then we're going to go all the way up until, I guess, Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four. Yeah, which should end when Doomsday comes out. So we figured out that it's like 44, 43 weeks. And there's how many movies? 35? Yeah, so we're going to be doing that all in order. I guess the next movie we're going to be doing is next week is going to be The Incredible Hulk, also from 2008. I'm going to do my normal 4K Blu-ray review, tech spec type of thing. The cool thing about doing it this way is that now that these movies have been out on Disney Plus forever, I rewatched it on 4K Blu-ray. I also watched it again on Disney Plus, which I think Bill also watched it on Disney Plus. So I'll do my normal tech spec stuff because I do have the home theater, and then I can hear the Atmos and whatever. I think DTSX is an Incredible Hulk, so I get to experience that here. So I'll be doing all that tech spec stuff, and usually when we're not talking about the story itself, that's why Bill's here. He can talk about the story while I do the tech specs. So it'll be
Yes,
like
sir.
a full review this time around. Today we're going to be checking out Iron Man on 4K Blu-ray and also on Disney Plus. We're only going to talk about the audio and video quality, and then Bill is going to talk about the story. So we will be talking about the movie itself. But first, let's go over a few tech specs. The movie is PG-13. It is 126 minutes long. It was shot on 35 millimeter film. Aspect ratio is 1.90 for the IMAX shots and 2.39 for everything else. And the audio that we checked out is in Dolby Atmos. Now, of course, we're going to be checking out the audio quality on the Dolby Atmos Object Viewer. So let's go ahead. Let's kick that off with one of the better scenes. I took 3 little highlighted clips here. So coming in at about 25 minutes and 36 seconds. These are kind of rough estimates. So this is the first time Tony lights up the arc reactor. We get a really nice bass drop here. So if you've got some capable subwoofers, right when he juices it up, you can feel the bass swell up from the ground. And that's the first real taste I think we get of some bass, aside from the big explosion at the beginning of the movie. So here we have all the bad guys here shooting bullets throughout the cave. And if you guys couldn't see from the Atmos viewer, not a lot of stuff is happening in the top channels, especially when they start shooting up. So here he's got his fists ready. He's ready to attack all the baddies. Pretty good base hit there when he punches the guy. And of course, all these bullets are ricocheting throughout the lower channels. Well, basically through the side channels. Not much is happening in the back channels or even overhead. Here you can hear some reverberation in the top speakers, and this movie is pretty much locked in a 7.1.2 configuration. So only the top middle channels are active. If you have 4 top channels, then all 4 will be active. But if you have 6, then only the top middles will be active. And for such a really cool action scene, I mean, there is still a bunch of stuff happening here, just only in 5 channels. Nothing really happening overhead. But still, there's a lot of bass in this scene, and just the gunfire and bullets really do take this up a notch. And for such an early Marvel movie, I kind of give it a pass because it does work really good. And the bass is really strong throughout this movie. Unlike some of the later Marvel stuff where the bass kind of sucked, this was actually really good throughout. However, you still have to turn up your volume pretty much, maybe about 5-6 dB louder than you probably normally would from something like, say, Interstellar, which is kind of like my reference point for movies. So this comes in at 1 hour 15 minutes. No, sorry, 1 hour 1 minute 27 seconds. This is Iron Man's first flight. And I picked the scene because I thought it was going to be a lot of surround with him flying through the air, lower channels, back channels, all that stuff, but really not too much happening overhead. Most of it, again, stays within the lower channels. Still a really cool scene. There are little moments in this where he will actually come from the back channels and kind of fly his way to the front. So you do get some audio panning that happens from front to back, vice versa. And then I think there's maybe like one or two moments during this whole little scene here where he does fly in the overhead channels. Like in this scene here, you would have thought he would have flew up in the air, but the top channels never become active. However, the back channels do become active here. Here we go. Now we got a little bit of action in the top channels there, but it's pretty rare for this for such a big scene. Like he should have flew when he flew up in the air to the back. You would have thought he would have flew up top, but he really didn't. And of course, all of the other stuff like the bass response, I thought bass response was pretty good in this as well. A lot of good bass drops and some other really cool stuff. We have the plane chase. Remember when he was flying through the air, a la Top Gun,
Yeah, where he like
Maverick?
grabs onto the fucking, pardon my
Yeah,
French, when he grabs onto the plane and the guy's like, hey, he's right there. We lost him. Wait, I'm really surprised, and I'm just going to say this. When, I don't have the gear that you've got to actually show like what the speakers are doing what when he does, but I would have really thought that when he was in the garage and he flew out, kind of up that circular garage and out the roof, that
yeah,
would have been a great opportunity for some really good Atmos activation.
yeah. I would have thought so. I mean, I guess it's like the first Marvel movie. Maybe they didn't know if it was going to be like a
Okay, all
bona
right, I'll
fide
give
hit.
him that.
Who knows? I mean, it was
But
still
this,
good. It was still fun, but not as good as I thought it would have been. Yeah, but this is an IMAX shot. Obviously, this is from
oh yeah, that's cool.
screenshot from the Disney Plus version. This is obviously it's cropped if you're watching it on the 4K
Oh,
disc.
this is when he deploys the friggin' when he deploys
The
the
flares.
brakes and goes back to
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. Super cool scene. But this works really nicely. It works better when it on Disney Plus because when it opens up, just like Top Gun Maverick, when all the aerial stuff opens up full screen, this works the same way. Maybe
Yeah.
not as visceral as they did in Maverick, but it's still pretty cool for what they did back in 2008. And I think it works a lot better in the IMAX format than it does in the straight letterbox
Right.
format.
I saw it, like I said, I saw this movie 4 or 5 times in the theater because it just like it was so good, and Robert Downey Jr. was so good, and I wasn't watching with so much as a technical eye as I was just really enjoying the movie.
We have another scene here. This happens towards the end of the movie. This is where Pepper is in the Ironmonger's hideout, I guess, the Stark lab. This is actually a really nice ambiance. So you'll hear like those chains kind of rattling in the back surround speakers. There's like droplets of water happening in the surround speakers. Nothing overhead, but just the little tiny effects that play out throughout the lower surrounds works really well for this scene. And of course, when Jeff Bridges comes on scene, Ironmonger takes over. Then that's where you get a lot of the big heavy bass drops, which is here the final battle on the highway. Every time the Ironmonger takes a step, it's pretty room shaking. Like I was not expecting this much bass in Iron Man. So that was a very pleasant surprise. Now, as far as video quality, I think one of the biggest things is when some of these early Disney releases, they actually use some noise reduction. So they did shoot this movie on 35 millimeter film, so you would have thought there would be some pretty hefty film grain. However, they did use some noise reduction to scrub away some of that film grain. So there are a lot of shots that probably do look a little bit smoother than they probably should. I think some of the CGI stuff definitely just looks a bit smoother. The stuff in the background, the walls and all that, they look really smoothed over. Here, this is kind of slightly waxy, not Terminator 2 type of waxy levels of DNR, but still kind of scrubbed away from all the 35 millimeter grain, such as this as well. This is a little bit smoother than I would have anticipated. And for these shots here that are with Tony out in the desert, I did see some kind of compression artifacts that are almost kind of like a halo around him. So as he's moving, you can see kind of it's almost like a light noise that edges all around Tony's body. It's not just this scene, but it's a lot of the brighter scenes where you can see like maybe the DNR just wasn't working right or the application was wrong, but you can definitely see some compression artifacts around Tony's body or just whoever's kind of just walking around during this scene in the desert. Not as egregious as, say, Lord of the Rings, but I did notice it nonetheless. Here is another kind of a Softer scene. This is also pretty soft as well. I mean, there should have been some 35 millimeter grain there, but there just wasn't. But then, you do get some pretty good shots. I mean, that's still pretty waxy. I think this was a pretty good scene, not as DNR'd and waxy looking, but it's still got some pretty good detail overall. Not again, not as egregious as say Terminator 2 or Lord of the Rings, but there's a little bit of funky CG here. I mean, this is early Marvel. I mean, here's a shot of Tony's feet in motion. It looks like his feet is actually sinking into the concrete, into his floor, and it almost kind of looks like he's floating sometimes, and sometimes it just looks like he's kind of sinking into the ground. This here is a good scene for surround sound because you can hear all the robotic arms and all that, like coming around you, behind you, overhead, just kind of putting on his armor. So this is actually a really cool sounding scene. But the CG still holds up pretty well here, I would say. I mean, this still looks great. This shot looks awesome.
That was that nice little, they fire a tank at him, and he
Yeah.
he fires that little tiny piece of ordnance at them.
Yeah, it just blows him up. But that shot looks. I don't know if that's fully CG or if that's like partial, like real life, and they just augmented it with some CG. But that still looked
They
really
did a good job. Whatever whether it was.
Yeah. And then the final fight obviously is all CG, but still looks pretty good. But as far as HDR, it does have a pretty vibrant image, really colorful for a Marvel movie. The reds, the golds really popped. You can see those specular highlights in the back. Really pop off the screen. They're very bright, nice, good, vibrant colors. Black levels are really deep in this. I want to say there's a little bit of black crush in this. Like the contrast levels are kind of juiced up a bit here. The black levels are really deep on both the Disney Plus version and also the physical media release version. Like this part here. Of course.
The cave stuff was a little
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really dark. All this, the first half here. Flesh tones
Yeah,
look
just
really good. Yeah, but overall, I mean, aside from the noise reduction, I thought details all right in this. Not the best, not the worst, but pretty good first effort, I guess, for a 2008 Marvel movie. And then the colors looked great. HDR was decent. Dolby Vision, however you're watching it. I think there's several versions of this. I think, like Sony has a version. I think Disney has a version. I think there's a UK version. I don't know if one is better than the other one, but I think they're all relatively the same. I remember there was a German version that came out before the official Disney versions came out, which
a
were,
German version.
yeah, I think they just took the standard Blu-rays and just kind of like upscaled them. So it was just a really bad looking trilogy. I think that, I believe they were selling for like $90 or something like that back in 2010 or something like that. Yeah, they just look like trash. And I remember everyone was so excited, but they got them in and they just look like garbage. Movie still holds up really well. I really like the movie. I haven't seen it in forever.
I watched it. I watched it yesterday, and I'm like, man, now I know why I saw this. I think I went like 4 times in the theater to see this because it was
Yeah.
just like, you saw the X-Men movies, and they were like, okay, and I like the X-Men comics actually more than I like the Avengers comics, but I always like the humor in the X-Men in the Avengers comics, and Tony Stark was every bit the irreverent sort of, the guy that was supposed to be Iron Man, and they captured it perfectly. He captured it perfectly. He did, for my money, like that guy, he captured the essence of what the original Marvel comic, was trying to depict.
Yeah.
And they did a great job of writing the story and everything else.
Well, I guess the story is that they didn't have a completed story when they were shooting the movie. They were
What?
actually writing it as they were going along.
Well, I mean, they did a pretty good job. I mean, they got my
Yeah.
money 4 times.
I mean, it worked.
And I'll tell you what, I love going to movies, right? And I rarely will pay more than once for any movie. The Marvel universe, the first, or this between Iron Man and Endgame, is the only sort of franchise that I've given my money. Well, that and Batman.
Video quality wise, I thought the video quality was pretty good overall. Not the best, not the worst. I'm going with a 7.8 for video quality. Audio quality, I thought it was really good as well. Not demo worthy, but still pretty good for a 5/7 channel mix with a little bit of Atmos top channel sprinkled in. I'm going to go with an 8.1 for the audio. You know what I think we should also do for as we're doing this? We should
What?
rank these as we're going along.
Oh, okay, all right. So,
So obviously this will be number one.
well, it's number one, so it'll be number one.
Yeah.
We can't we can't give a true ranking until the end, I guess. But
Well, as we go
I can
along,
tell
well,
you,
when we get to, let's say this is number one, we get to an Incredible Hulk. Is Hulk better than Iron Man, or is it not?
oh God, hell no. All
Then
right,
that would
so
be number
you're talking
two.
about building the
Yeah,
list as we go through the movies.
yeah.
Okay,
So we'll knock him down,
all
or
right.
knock him up as you go. All right, so we'll put that as number one. You know what was a little bit? I didn't really think about this, but usually Jeff Bridges plays the dude,
Right. This is the you don't see him play the villain very
or
often,
or just like something
especially
really
a bald
serious.
villain.
Yeah, like he was a serious. He never says or man in the entire movie. I don't believe.
He never says, "There's a drink here, man.
Yeah. Hey
I got a
man.
beverage,
Hey.
man."
Come on, man.
They
Like
should have
this
made
is,
John Goodman, not John Favreau, the personal bodyguard. He could have looked at Obed and said, "Obadiah, you're out of your depth, man."
yeah, because I was watching it. I was like, wait, I was like, something is missing here. I was like, dude, he's like villainously serious in this movie. I mean, even in
Well,
Tron, he's like, hey man.
right? And
Hey
trying is all
Tron.
like,
Yes, we'll try to have everything a little bit more streamlined and ready to go. We kind of
yeah,
rushed these video clips tonight, so guys, be sure to come check us out next week. We're going to be watching The Incredible Hulk next week. If you guys have seen it, any thoughts on these movies, then leave them down in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.